Hey, hey, hey. Time for another out of this world story from our space. Who deserves to be cheated on? Trick question. Nobody. Because if you cheat on a cheater, you're no better than the person who did the cheating in the first place. How's that for tongue twister? Today on our space, untwist those tongues. We've got back-to-back stories from one tormented OP. Upburst? No one dies from love, but a broken heart can kill you. This OP needs some serious R&R. I planned to cheat back. Sam, male 30, cheated on me, female 27, because things were rocky and I wasn't giving him what he needed to be fulfilled. He got caught when he got fired from his job because the other girl accused him of sexual harassment after she had been fired due to Sam's accusations of wrongdoings on her part against the company they worked for. Apparently, she'd always been throwing advances Sam's way, and he eventually entertained it. They vented to each other about them being unhappy in their relationships, and eventually and inevitably, things reached an inappropriate level. Sam claims it was never physical. I'll never know, though. We broke up. It was incredibly hard for me. We saw other people. And after 7 months, we got back together. Getting back together was not easy. I had healed to an extent, but lots of insecurities were surfaced, of course, when we got back together. So things were again rocky. And like they say, once a cheater, always a cheater. I found out Sam was cheating yet again with a girl he saw during the time we had been broken up. I found out because I was sleeping on his shoulder during a shuttle ride to a concert, and when I looked over to him texting on his phone, I saw the name of that girl and his text messages. I confronted him there and then, and made him give me his phone. He deleted the messages, but I recovered them and saw it was 700 plus worth of messages. It was devastating seeing the content of those messages. His concert ticket turned out to be counterfeit. Talk about karma. So I ditched him and enjoyed the concert with my friends. And yes, unfortunately, I still forgave him again on false pretenses that he'd do XYZ to make up for it all. At that point, I was numb, but I feared the feeling of being broken up. I was nasty with my words and treatment towards him. I had huge resentment, and after 1 month of working on things, I communicated I was insecure of a woman he worked with, which led to a nasty fight. And I went to my parents' house. During this time, I found out he reached out to the woman he cheated on me with, and it all went further downhill from there. But we stayed together. In my head, I planned to cheat back to hopefully regain something back to make me feel better. I'm a successful, career-driven, attractive woman, so my DMs have always been full of messages from men, all of which I ignored during my relationship. But after all the betrayal and hurt I was feeling, I decided to respond to a guy in my DMs and agreed to meet up with him for a date. As the day approached, I realized I couldn't follow through with it, so I canceled on him. My actions are between me and God, and I'm just not that woman. Regardless of what Sam has done, I cannot wrong him or even mislead that man in my DMs. I have my flaws, and a lot of them at that, but I am not a cheater. Now I have to muster up the courage to leave Sam, be alone, and heal. Update. I broke up with him. The last 6 weeks of our relationship, he says he spent about $10,000 on me and us, weekend getaways, trips, dinners, gifts. I suppose that is what they call love bombing. To an extent, I really felt taken care of and provided for in those experiences, but I wished they were under different circumstances. All of those experiences were clouded by his cheating, and we had big fights at most of them, both in public and private. He says I ruined those experiences for us. The wounds in my heart were and are still so fresh to just tuck away all that emotional torture he caused me. I even asked him to get couples counseling with me, but he refused, saying he doesn't want to pay a stranger to tell him what he already knows. He hated me bringing up the cheating. According to him, it was in the past and I should leave it there, instead of continuously bringing it to our present. I tried to explain to him that it is my present. His cheating is there every minute of every day at every corner of my life. I began to suppress it, though, which gave us both the false sense of improvement. I wasn't coming around fast enough for him, though. At the end of those last 6 weeks, he asked me to start putting in my part, showing him love, providing surprises for him, initiating intimacy, or financial equity. I don't know if I'm right in my thinking, but I told him that my part in the relationship right now was simply just showing up and allowing him to prove me why staying was the right choice. I didn't feel emotionally safe to show up for him like that, and wasn't sure of how long it could take. This didn't sit well with him. He said I was taking advantage of him. He was afraid I'd stay with him, continue to accept trips, gifts, dinners, and then leave him in debt. Once again, I found myself at another very pivotal point, and I really evaluated the wounds to my heart, and I let him know that I will never be able to show up for him with my full heart ever again. The first few days were the worst. The first few minutes after waking up and realizing you no longer have a relationship are the worst. I know I'll get through it. No one dies from love. I have to keep reminding myself to take it one breath at a time. The sun will rise in the morning. I start therapy on Monday. Thanks for the tough love, Reddit. Let's see what other tough love Reddit has. With one quick comment from Ashley Black 86. This guy is whack AF. And you still want him? I'd rather be alone than be with a guy who disrespects me, is disloyal, and possibly gives me an uncurable STD. I don't know why you're in your feelings, but what you need to do is get your head out of your butt. Respect yourself, love yourself, move on, right the F on. He was not a fairy tale girl. He was shiny garbage. Good luck to you, and I hope you stumble across a better man. So he doesn't need a therapist to tell him that he's a lying, cheating piece of scum, and then you weren't coming around fast enough for him? Who does this guy think he is? It would be hard for anyone to trust again after getting constantly cheated on, but at the same time, you sort of did it to yourself. I think cheating on him would make you just as bad as him and solves nothing. In order to actually make yourself feel better, and to actually get some payback, is to love yourself just as the comment suggests. When we love ourselves, we don't settle for anything less from other people. What do you think? Next up, let's be clear. STDs are not a love-bombing gift. Another post from the same OP. He cheated, but I'm not sure if I'm the one that messed up our reconciliation. I broke up with him because he is a serial cheater. He had about a third of our relationship he cheated. Exposed me to STDs, would download dating apps when we were fighting, called me a B word and a C word, and most likely bought happy endings. Despite all that, I gave him a final opportunity to make things right with me and reconcile. The reconciliation lasted for about 6 weeks before I called it quits with him. During those last 6 weeks of our relationship, he says he spent about $10,000 on me and us. Weekend getaways, trips, dinners, gifts. Was this love bombing or a genuine effort shown through investments in me? To an extent, I really felt taken care of and provided for in those experiences, but I wish they weren't in the light of his cheating. All those experiences were clouded by his cheating, and we had big fights at most of them in both public and private. He says I ruined those experiences for us. The wounds in my heart were, and still are, so fresh to just tuck away all the psychological torture he caused me. I asked him to get couples counseling with me, but he refused, saying he doesn't want to pay a stranger to tell him what he already knows. He hated me bringing up his cheating. According to him, it was in the past and I should leave it there instead of continuously bringing it to our present. I tried to explain to him that it is my present. His cheating is there every minute of every day of every corner of my life. I began as a present, though, which he was both the false pretense of improvement. I wasn't coming around fast enough for him. At the end of those last 6 weeks, he asked me to start putting in my part, showing him love, providing surprises for him, initiating intimacy, and more financial equity. I don't know if I'm right in my thinking, but I told him that my part in the relationship right now was simply just showing up and allowing him to prove to me why staying was the right choice. I didn't feel emotionally safe to show up for him like that and wasn't sure how long it could take. This didn't sit well with him. He said I was taking advantage of him. He was afraid I'd stay with him, continue to accept trips, gifts, dinners, and then leave him in debt. I can understand his fears because I provided no certainty that his efforts would work. But I was afraid, too, that he'd betray me again. Did I mess up our reconciliation by just sitting back? Or was it him that misplaced his efforts? Was he just putting on a show? I don't truly think I could have ever shown up for him with my full heart ever again, and that's what I told him at the end of those 6 weeks. But the guilt is still there because I feel like I wasted his time and money. Should I pay him back? The community has some words of advice. Robin1001 Music says, it takes a minimum of 2 years to even begin to move past this type of betrayal. If after 6 weeks you aren't even allowed to bring it up, he's stuck in shame, which will make him internalize it. This is someone who ran over you with a car and then tells you to stop bleeding because it makes him feel bad. Next thought from Bake Time 1089. All the gifts and whatnot were love bombing. Classic abuser tool to keep the object of their abuse under their thumb. He was scared that you would bail, so he made huge grand gesture to try to buy your continued presence. Your job, in the early days of reconciliation, as the betrayed, is to eat, hydrate, try to function, and not pinch his dang head off. His is to sort his crap out and be good to you. Throwing money at a problem seldom solves it. Did you ask for expensive grand gestures? Do you really care about trips and stuff? Would you be happier if you spent that money on therapy for his issues and then for your joint communication skills? He didn't ask what would be helpful or healing. He just threw money around. The OP replies, no, I didn't ask for grand gestures, but he thought I'd hold high value for it since he knew I liked when he treated me. What I did ask for was therapy. I also asked him to get his own place. He has 4 roommates, one on each side of his bedroom. because we had no privacy to have tough conversations. I'm a very private and reserved person, so it was torture having to talk about the hard stuff knowing his roommates were on either side of the walls. His roommates always took his side. I'm sure he didn't tell them the full truth. So it was extremely awkward being at his place. He refused to move out unless I went 50-50 on a place with him. But after all the infidelity, I didn't feel safe investing in a place with him. And I did forewarn him that I needed to talk about his infidelity, and probably often, and he was agreeable to that at first, but after 2 weeks he couldn't take it. After 4 weeks, he couldn't take it, and at the end, he couldn't take it. Of course the $10,000 is love bombing, and of course his efforts were misplaced. If he had actual genuine feelings for you, he wouldn't have cheated on you in the first place. Funny thing about cheating, if you constantly do it, it means it is the present. It's no longer the past. If you have a side piece that you're texting while your partner is next to you, that's present moment cheating. I'm sorry your ex literally thought he was perfect and didn't have a problem, OP. Newsflash, he was the problem. Thoughts? Next, our OP uses some serious secret agent skills to take out her ex. Last one from the OP. My partner called my burner phone number, thinking it was his affair partner. My now ex was a serial cheater in our relationship. After the D-Day number 2, one of my conditions was to block his affair partner and never contact again. Another condition was to allow me to see his phone and dig through it. He agreed. While I dug through his phone, I saved his affair partner's contact on his phone with just her phone number, no contact name. I then created a new contact and put her name as the contact name with my burner phone number. I proceeded to block both. So in his block list, he would see her phone number, just digits, and my burner number would show up as affair partner's name in that block list. He had other random numbers blocked he said were spam callers, so I figured her real numbers would camouflage as it appeared with just digits. No name attached. Like clockwork, a month after D-Day number 2, guess who called my burner number? My ex-partner. Disclaimer, I have a burner number because I volunteered for a disaster relief nonprofit during wildfire season, and we make a lot of phone calls with our personal phones, so they recommended we use a Google Voice phone number. You can call, receive voicemail, text. That was a catalyst to our inevitable breakup. Hopefully someone can find this helpful to discover if their partner will stay true to their word. Let's check into the community. Hawk3 says, great use of Google Voice. So many of us are reluctant to toss away a long-term relationship over one incident. It took me 10 years. What a waste of a decade. DOP replies, 100%, which is why I put my own verification in place. They're not foolproof, but it's something to possibly gain real concrete proof. My ex still doesn't know how I knew he contacted his affair partner a month after D-Day number 2. Live at Owl 1273 says, this was a good idea because this behavior is so predictable that you can almost set your watch by it. A promise not to do the thing that they promised not to do in the first place is never a strong prospect. I'm glad you had this method to find out when it did. Old Soul 210 says, my husband cheated. I forgave. He cheated again. We're divorcing. Yet he's trying to get me to reconcile by promising to be faithful to me for the rest of our days. I said, but you promised that when we got engaged. I have it in writing, you know, the little note you gave me when you left on a work trip after you gave me the ring. Jinboy32 says, what did partner say when you confronted him after calling your burner phone? Good idea doing that. DOP replies, he actually provided me with the full truth when I confronted him, a truth I later confirmed to be true, without seeking to confirm. But the reason why didn't matter at that point anymore. Him reaching out to her further emphasized that he'd always choose other people over me and healing our relationship. Taco Strom has this to say. I then created a new contact to put her name and the contact name with my burner phone number. I proceeded to block both. So in his block list, he would see her phone number, just digits, and my burner number would show up as AP's name in that block list. He had other random numbers blocked. He said they were spam callers, so I figured her real number would camouflage as it appeared with just digits. No name attached. I'm so glad you're no longer with him and the truth was revealed itself to you, but just looking at that statement above is enough for some people to simply ask themselves, what am I doing? This isn't worth it anymore. Don't put yourself through this in future relationships. DOP replies, oh, absolutely. Every one of my actions I took after his betrayals elicited that, what the F am I doing? But I didn't care until I finally did. This was actually quite brilliant on your end. I'm glad to hear this was the beginning of the end, but I'm sorry to hear it took so long for you to get rid of him. Wishing you all the best, OP. Here's to a future full of healing. Have you ever gone to these lengths to catch a cheater? Let us know below. Our next OP uncovers her cheater's secret family. But why is she blaming herself? Let's jump right in. Boyfriend of 9 years cheated on me for the last 2 years. Hi. I think I should need to vent in tips. So, on Tuesday night, I found out that my boyfriend of 9 years thought I was going to marry him someday. His mother calls me her daughter-in-law even. Has been cheating on me for the last 2 years with some girl in Mexico that he thought he had a kid with. He's first up and down he took a second DNA test. Bought one in the U.S. He's saying that the first DNA test he took in Mexico came back positive according to his side chick. And he took it down there, and it came back negative. Since it came back negative, he broke it off with this girl and stopped sending her money for the kid, and he says that's when she threatened to contact me. He's saying he broke it off in May and that he was waiting to tell me, but I don't know if I believe him. He's been playing effing house with this girl and her effing daughter, and she has a son, for 2 effing years of our 9-year effing relationship, and I never saw it coming. I didn't even know he had it in him to betray me like this. And when we first got together, I had a lot of trust issues because I had been cheated on before. And it was bad, and he knew this. But he helped me to get over a lot of it, and I trusted him blindly, and now look at where I'm at. And the only reason I found out is because the girl created a fake account and tried to add me on Facebook, and then she started messaging me and sending me pictures of him and her with her kids all together. When I asked him who this was and sent him one of the pictures she sent me, he texted back, "We need to talk." My stomach sank because I knew then that yes, there was truth to this. I'm devastated, shocked. I've been crying since Tuesday night. He says he's sorry and it didn't mean anything. How effing cliche. And I'm just broken. I just want to know if anyone who has been in a similar situation can give me any tips on how to get my life back on track. We were living together, and I mean, we even filed our taxes together this year, so he blindsided me 100%. I thought this was going to be my husband one day. I just feel lost, and every day I wake up, I think and hope and pray it won't hurt as bad as the next day. But every day it hurts worse. And I'm still crying. He's staying with his family right now, and I told him I need time to think. But yeah, this is getting worse every day. I'm just upset and angrier every day. I feel like my life has been ruined, and I can't believe he did this to me after everything I've done for him. I helped him get through school. I would get up early with him for work to make him coffee and his lunch. I was practically his wife for the last 9 years. Did everything like a wife, and maybe I was stupid for that, but I thought we were trying to build a life together because, on top of doing wifey duties, I've also been going to school and working my butt off, and I'm like super close to being done with school. And we're integrated into each other's families, and they're scolding him for what he's done to me. But yeah, I just feel like absolute crap, and I'm wondering what I've done to deserve this. He says I shouldn't blame myself, but it's hard not to when it happens like this. Yeah, this sucks. Any tips are appreciated. First tip comes from Acceptable State 4845. Wow, so he had a whole other relationship for 2 years where he was basically playing house with another woman and her kids. Girl, the level of betrayal here is on a whole new level. You understand that it was not a one-time mistake, right? It was a full-on affair. A double life. He's only feeling bad right now because he was caught via blackmailing or whatever. He knew this would destroy you, but he did not care and carried this on for 2 whole years. So moral of this is, please don't stay with this man. Next time, God only knows what this dude will end up doing because he can't remain faithful. He will cheat again. You have wasted enough time. Don't disrespect yourself by staying with a man who can play with you like this. You deserve much better than being treated like this, and please don't let anyone tell you to forgive him and stay because I feel his family might try to do that. DOP replies, yes, I do. Like, yeah, this. My God, if you knew him, you'd never suspect it. But I'm not able to forgive and forget. There's no way I can make this work, and I do feel like he'd cheat again, and I don't deserve this. Thank you so much for commenting. All of the feedback is really helping me out. Yogurt Closet OK3904 says, alright, first thing he is your ex-boyfriend. Second thing, do you really think he is sorry enough for all the heartbreaks you have been through? He will cheat again even if you give him another chance. Break up with that crap and move on. I know that's hard, but don't deserve him by any chance. Berberia chimes in, I can't understand why people have such a hard time being faithful to one lover. What is wrong with people? I've been tempted before, but I knew I would hurt others for my selfishness. Treat it like a business transaction. Megalothi chimes in, sort your money, pack your bags, tell his mother. DOP